Y'all look cute, Lord. Y'all look cute.
Sit down.
Okay. Good afternoon. As Ms. Thomas stated, my name is Joshua Menefee, and this is my wife,
Beatrice Menefee.
And it is an honor to be here with you all today to be able to share this information. As she stated, I'm in higher education, working about finance in higher education. My wife does juvenile justice. So our goal when we go out and speak to different families is she lets you know these are the things and the pitfalls to make sure that we keep our youth out of the justice system. And then once we keep them out, I talk about what comes after high school. So I'll let her go ahead and do her spiel first, and I'll come up second. I do run pretty much an open forum, so anytime you have a question, anything, I always urge you, please ask the group, because if that's a question to you, I'm certain someone else in the group has that same question. Stop me at any time, and we can definitely have an open discussion. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, guys. And ladies, sorry. Good evening. I'm Beatrice Menefee, and I work with Harris County Juvenile Probation Department. I'm a juvenile probation officer. I've been doing this for the last 6 years. 6 long years. But I like what I do, and I can honestly say that this is something that is very near and dear to me because we have kids, and it's very unfortunate, but our kids, they're not really going down the right path today. And so it's our job as parents, it's our job as leaders, as community helpers, as whatever you want to consider yourself, to help the kids along and to guide them. And so that's very important. Can anyone tell me, and if you're wrong, that's fine. We're just here to get knowledge. But can anyone tell me in the state of Texas what they consider a juvenile? As far as the ages.
17 and under.
So we have a 10, 17 and under, 16 and under, 11 and up. Okay, everybody's right. No, Texas considers a juvenile to be between the ages of 10 and 17. So just imagine a 10-year-old, that's 5th grade. 5th grade. Or if they're in the right grade, it's 5th grade. So a 5th grade, I mean, that's like mind-boggling. Because you think that little bitty baby going to elementary school, barely able to carry that backpack, going to class, and he or she is eligible to be a part of what we call the criminal justice system. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then the sad part is, if the child is 17, when they commit that offense, you don't get to go and pick up your baby and say, okay, well, we'll come back to court in about 2 months. No, ma'am, no, sir. You have to go and bond your child out. Because at 17, if they commit that offense, then yes, they are considered an adult. Now, there's like a gray area between that. If the child is 16 when he or she commits that offense, then they are considered a juvenile. However, there have been instances, and I actually have had kids on my caseload that were 16 when they committed offenses, and the severity of, I'm sorry? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And the thing is, girl, they are slick. The criminal justice system is real slick because they will make your child sit downtown and wait the months out. If they're within 6 months of turning 17, they're just going to sit there and wait it out. And then when they turn 17, send them right on across because we're at 1200 Congress. They're just going to send them across the street to 1200 Franklin, to the adult criminal justice building, and your baby will now have a criminal record. So we as parents, we need to be mindful of these things, and we need to make sure that we keep our kids focused, and that we make sure that we're doing as much as we possibly can to stay on top of them and to make sure that they know what's right, what's wrong. Can anybody tell me what a child may get on probation for? Just stealing. Okay.
Inappropriate comment to a classmate.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
It can be as simple as, you look cute today, and taken a certain way, you could have that issue on your hands.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I do not feel as if it's always stacked up to be in our best interest. but that's my personal opinion.
And it happens just as simple as that. I know that there are various ages in the room, but even when we were in school, you know, a fight would not get you on probation. You know, you probably go to the principal's office and you're going to get paddling. You may even get a suspension. Mom is going to get called. Dad is going to get called. Somebody's going to come up there, parent-teacher conference, but no probation. But nowadays, our kids are getting on probation for assault with bodily injury. And that's just a simple fight. And it may be because he or she were defending themselves. It may also be because he or she was being bullied. And a lot of our kids don't know how to reach out and to tell the proper authorities about it. Or, you know, in the younger generation, oh, you snitched, or you snitched, or you told, you know, it's just a bunch of stuff behind that. So the kid is under a lot of peer pressure, and they're not really sure what the outlet is and who to tell. And so, you know, the first thing that they know how to do is to defend themselves when something comes up, and before you know it, you're getting the call from the school, and the police are telling you that the DA decide to accept the charges, and your child is now going to have to go to court. And so it's crazy. But yes, even with things as far as you're telling a child telling a teacher, I don't like you, and I wish you would go away, get out of my face. You just get on my nerves. Even saying things that small, because if the child takes it just a step further and says, I just wish I could blow up your room.
Terroristic
Okay. Yeah. Terroristic threat, you know. And the thing is, that child, they don't know how to blow up that room. Well, I'll take that back. They probably won't blow up the room. Probably won't, but nowadays you cannot take that lightly. You cannot take that lightly. You can't. But I'm going to say that the child probably is not going to do that. They were just saying something because he or she was upset. And at that point, that's what came out. Well, we have to teach our kids to kind of filter the things that you say and filter the things that you do, because your intentions are one thing, but the way that the person receives it is another. And that's what causes the big conflict, because telling that teacher right there that you're going to blow up their classroom, well, then that's a terroristic threat. And then you're like, well, no, I really didn't mean it, miss. Well, he or she doesn't know that. They don't know that. And they actually probably don't care. Because, again, nowadays, you just can't take things like that lightly. You just cannot. Downtown, we have, on 1200 Congress, we have 3 of our district criminal courts for the kids. We have the 313th court, the 314th court, and the 315th court. The 313th court is governed by Judge Devlin. The 314th court is governed by Judge, oh goodness, what is that man's name? I cannot think of his name, but 315 court is Mike Schneider. And Judge Schneider is serious. He does not play games with our kids. If he sees kids in his courtroom too many times, it's just amazing, because I may get a kid that's on probation for 6 months. In 6 months, we like to call that deferred adjudication. And that's just a 6-month program that we have for our kids. And they're going through that 6 months because more than likely when the judge saw him or her, they were saying, okay, he or she has never been in trouble before. We're going to go ahead and give them a break. We're going to place them on this 6-month supervision program while they are assigned a juvenile probation officer. If they complete all rules and conditions accordingly, they will be able to get off probation and then go about the procedure to seal records and things like that. Well, I've seen kids get the 6-month probation for, we'll say, burglary of a habitation. But then I've seen kids get a whole year, maybe even more, for something simple as possession of marijuana. It really, and I hate to say it like this, but I always tell my parents, it really just depends on what day it is, what time it is, how many kids the judge saw. Because, I mean, they are very moody. And, oh yeah. And then who's going to tell them that they're wrong? Nobody. Nobody's going to say anything. No, because, I mean, it's their courtroom. They do it how they want to do it, how they see fit. And we have to, again, these are things that we have to be mindful of, because the system does not care. Because I'm just going to put it out there. How many of the judges that you think I named were African American? No. Okay. They are not. They are not. They're associate judges, not African American. They're not even Latino. No, ma'am. They are not. And so, again, that's things that we just really have to be mindful of because, you know, if your kid is out there breaking into people's houses and they only got 6 months and then my kid is over here and he had possession of marijuana, not to make that situation lightly, but I kind of see, you know, something a little wrong with that picture, but, you know, that's how it goes. And it's really unfortunate, but our kids are, let's see, our African American and Latina kids make up about 75 to 80% of the kids that we deal with. 75 to 80%. That's a big number. I was just going to address that. That's definitely the problem. And it's so sad because the parents, not only can they not afford a lawyer, but they don't have the educational competency to know what's going on, and they don't know their rights. So, of course, you're kind of getting shuffled through because your child is just juvenile number 378012. And it's just like they don't care. Okay, let's keep it going because the court day is just moving. They're trying to keep everything going. And, okay, sign here. Okay, bye. You need to take this, go sign this. All right, go over to this office. But they never really fully explain things. And when we get the parents and we get the families, of course, they're frustrated because it's been a long day. They've probably been in court since 8:30, 9 o'clock. By the time they get to us, it's maybe 1 or 2, and they haven't eaten. Some of them have to ride the bus or whatever. And it's one of those situations where, for us, it becomes a hard situation to explain to the families, okay, well, your child is going to be required to call me every week, to see me twice a month, to go to this program every week on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And they're like, wait a minute. I didn't sign up for that. Well, yeah, you did. You did. And the first thing they say, well, I'm not on probation. He's on probation.
Wrong.
Yeah, okay, but no. Because how does the child get to where they have to go? The parent. It's the parent. Now, yes, the child is on probation. On the paper, the child is on probation, and the child was placed in the custody of his or her mother or father or grandparent or whoever it is, the guardian. But the technicality of that situation is, we already know. How's the kid going to get that? Now, there are some kids who are independent. They don't really care what the parents say. They're determined, of course, to get it done. And they're going to ride the bus, take the bike, hop, skip, and jump to get wherever they got to go. That's fine. But on a normal basis, the parent is the person that gets the child where they have to go. And it's so unfortunate because the lawyers don't talk to the parents. The court workers do not talk to the parents because, again, they're just worried about getting them in and out. And the parents don't really understand everything that it takes, but it does take the child and the parent working together to get through this successfully, because otherwise we have what we call repeat offenders. They repeat. So we've had kids. I know I had a kid on my case. So he was like 14 when I first got him, and now he's 17, and it's same thing. Still not. He'll turn 18. Was this November? He'll turn 18 next month, and it's just sad because all of his teenage years he was placed on probation, and the parents are like, "Well, I can't do nothing with him. He don't want to listen, and I don't really know." To me, I've been doing this for 6 years, but it still doesn't make any sense to me because that's your child, and you can't get him or her to do anything. I think something's wrong with that because you have to go back and revisit some of the things that maybe we were not doing as parents, or maybe that we overlooked as parents. And that's where some of that conflict comes in, because if we don't step in and do something about that child's behavior, address that child's attitude, address how that child acts at school. Because remember, it's not always the teacher's fault. It ain't because the teacher don't like Lil Johnny. Maybe Lil Johnny really got attitude, and he needs to be checked. Just maybe, because we can't always get ready to jump down the teacher's throat. Well, what'd you do? What'd you say to him? Okay, not always the case. Now, of course, there are rules, exceptions to the rule. Maybe Miss such and such is, picking on Johnny, but that doesn't happen all the time. That does not happen all the time. And so, because we know this, we need to make sure, hey, we're addressing that, because if not, I'm telling you, your babies, our babies, the babies to come, they're going to be in the criminal justice system. They are going to be there because they don't care. They don't care. They're just waiting. Yes, ma'am.
How difficult or easy is it to get out of the criminal justice system once you have a felon?
Okay.
Once you move beyond that juvenile point, how difficult or easy is it for you to get that felon? And then what does that mean in terms of once you have a felony against you, even if you're on parole?
Okay. Well, what it means, what we say, what's listed on our juvenile court order is you found to have engaged in delinquent conduct. Because as a juvenile, you're not convicted of anything. So, for instance, if our kids go and fill out job applications while they are on probation, always make sure that they understand that simple clause, because that's the difference between answering that question that says, have you ever been convicted of anything? Yes or no. In their case, it would be no, because as a juvenile, you cannot be convicted of anything. Now, if they were to say, have you been arrested, and the child has been arrested, or what we say is detained and taken into custody, then of course they would have to answer that accordingly, or they can just say no and then, just go on about their business, because if it's McDonald's, they don't have the ability to do a thorough background check like that. So they won't know. But I always like to tell our kids that. Now, going forward, if they, it's real easy to get off juvenile probation. Just do what I tell you to do, and then you're going to get off. That's just simple. But once you get out of the juvenile system, contrary to the belief of what the parents and the kids have heard and think, it does not just go away. It does not just poof into thin air. It just doesn't happen like that. What happens is you have to get a lawyer. You have to get things expunged. You have to get your records sealed. You have to do that. Now, if a child were to go to one of the armed forces, whether it be, I think the Army takes certain offenses. It cannot be a violent offense, if I'm thinking, if that's correct. But they take certain things, and with that being said, of course, you would want to look into that. But as far as the adults, when they get, because I work in the 9111 building on 59 in Tidwell. It used to be a bank, I heard. It used to be Medicaid, I heard. It used to be a lot of different things years ago. And so in my building, it's juvenile probation, it's CPS, it's adult probation, and adult parole as well. And so what I've seen some of my own kids go from me to upstairs to the adult. And the thing about adult is it's easy as well to go ahead about your business, do your pay your fees, because you have monthly fees. Can't miss those. You have monthly fees, you have your monthly visits, your programs or whatever. But the thing is, it's real easy to go through these programs and get off and close that chapter in your life. But so it's just all too often that the kids and the adults, it's just like, I guess they don't think, I don't know, like my grandma used to say, fat meat is greasy. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. They just don't believe that it's true, or that they will get sent back to court, or they will get violated, or, I don't know what it is, but it's so simple. You just do what you're supposed to do. When you check in with your probation officer, that's it. That's just really it. And then, of course, you go about closing records if you're a juvenile, but then if you're adult, it's unfortunate, but you'll have a record. But yeah, it's real simple, real simple. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, you're saying that you can have a felony offense if it's
As a juvenile?
yes.
Yes.
It's correct. You can correct it.
Yes, if you have a felony offense as a juvenile, you're not convicted. So what can happen is, because I actually have a child, she's a senior right now, and she has a felony offense of, I think, she was driving while intoxicated. She hit a boat, a car, a house, a motorcycle. Yeah, and so that was a felony for her. And she has been able, because she's graduating in the top 10% of her class, she has been able to apply for financial aid. I'll tell you about that. She has been able to do that, as well as she's been accepted to 2 or 3 different schools. So it's just one of those things that I hate to say it, and I don't like to say this, but if you're gonna get in trouble, maybe you should do it as a juvenile. So this is on your adult record. If you're going to, I don't want to encourage that, but I'm just saying, because some of the things that we do as we're growing up, we definitely would never do those things when we're when we're adults. So that's just some of the things that the kids have to see. I always say that maybe you should learn from other people's experiences and you don't have to experience them yourself, because some of them can be costly. But yes, ma'am.
What if you are convicted as a juvenile of a sex offense?
Okay, yes. Within
Does
Harris.
that go away?
Okay. All right, that's a good one. Within Harris County, we have 9 CUPS units, and CUPS stands for Community Unit Probation Services, and we have those spread throughout the entire Harris County. My office personally does North Houston, so we do everything from Kingwood, Porter, back to 610 I-10 area, because I do the Galena Park, North Shore, Sheldon ISD, Channelview, that area over there. I do that area, and our CUPS unit that has the sex offenders, they're located on something Merworth by Reliant, and they do sex offender registration for some kids that require, because when they go to court, depending on the offense or whatever, the judge will make them register. They don't always have to register as a sex offender when they get older, but that would just depend on the nature of the offense, and I guess maybe the child's ability to adapt. Because with their probation back in the day used to be more punitive. And what they're moving towards now is more of a community rehabilitation type program. Because we even used to have the boot camp. We don't have that anymore. It's called the Leadership Academy, and it's located in Hockley, Texas. But they're moving towards that rehabilitation within the community and using the resources, because that's just like anybody. When you take them and you ostracize them and you paint this picture that this kid is bad, this kid does this kid does that, pretty soon he or she will start to believe that, and they will definitely start to act like that. And to make things a little bit easier for the child to transition, there are so many programs that we have available within the community. There are so many different things that we do with the schools, with their leaders, the assistant principals, the counselors, the staff. So many different things that we do with them so that the transition can be easier. And I mean, I hate to say it, and I have to acknowledge that it is true. Some teachers, some staff will pick on these kids, will do things purposely to kind of provoke these kids to react, because, oh, you're the trouble kid. So no matter what you're doing or what you do, you're always going to be the trouble kid. And, little Johnny could be standing next to a group of kids that were actually, getting into a fight and actually doing something wrong. And he didn't do anything. Not this time. He didn't do anything. And so, unfortunately, because of little Johnny's reputation and the things that teachers and people know that he does, this time, little Johnny, he's the one. He did it. But he really didn't. And I hate to say that, but the parents have to be aware of that. And I always tell my kids that, too, because you need to make sure that you stay 2 steps ahead of them. Because you know that this teacher knows you're on probation. Well, if they're asking you to do something, you need to make sure you do it. Because if not, then, that gives them just any type of reason to say or do anything to you, and then try to get some type of arousal out of you, and then bam, that's it, Any other questions in regards to probation?
If a kid gets in trouble with the law, many of our parents don't know who do they talk to, who do they go to, because is it true that the public defender is not necessarily on your side?
Okay.
And so, I set you up. That's a question.
It's
So
okay.
if a kid gets in trouble, where do we direct a family?
Okay. When you're saying the kid gets in trouble, have they gotten in trouble and the DA has accepted charges, or is just this kid that constantly gets into trouble all
Maybe
the time?
both.
Okay. Okay. Well, for one, in the first instance, if a child is, let's see, if a child is, if this is at risk child, and this child is a troubled youth, and you see that he or she is going down the wrong path, and you want to try to make sure that some things are put into action before the legal standpoint comes about, then you want to, we have an agency on, 6300 Chimney Rock, that's on Southwest side, and it's the Community Youth Services Department, and they deal with the kids that are troubled, at risk, the kids that are kind of like right there on the edge of being on probation, and they offer the parents as well as the children, because you usually can't get to the root of the problem if the parent is the problem and you don't address the parent. So they offer both the child and the parent the services, and you can kind of take that route as far as trying to deter the child from being on probation. Now, as far as a child that's on probation, I can say this, that the lawyers that work for the kids, they do just that. They work for the kids. So that the lawyer doesn't have to say a word to you as a parent. Nothing. Because he's not working for you. He's working for that child. He's representing that child. And so because of that, a lot of parents say, well, he didn't say anything to me. I don't know anything that's going on. He just kind of made an agreement with the child. And of course, the child doesn't know anything. So, he just kind of made an agreement with the child. But they can do that. They don't really have to talk to the parent. They don't have to say a word. So I guess in a sense, you could say that the attorney is not there to maybe work with the parent per se. It's not there to work with the parent. But if your child does get in trouble, if you can afford an attorney, please get one. Please get an attorney. No, don't want to do that. You don't want to do it. If your child gets in trouble ever in life, please go ahead, take out that loan, whatever you gotta do, get the baby a lawyer, because it's just it's not really a good deal to go with the court-appointed lawyer. And if you cannot, that's fine. There are some good court-appointed lawyers, but you just have to, again, you have to know your rights. You kind of have to stay on top of stuff, because they will kind of shuffle you through and tell you anything. And if you have a question about something, ask it. And if they don't want to answer you, then ask it again. And then maybe you can do some research on it yourself, or perhaps go to, because I've had parents that say, I want to talk to the judge myself. Can I go up there? Can I walk up to the stand? Can I approach? And they will just ask themselves because they don't understand, or they want a better explanation. He want to talk, y'all.
That's why girls should go first. Yeah.
Go ahead. She had a question. No, go ahead.
Yes.
Have you seen, what are the statistics, if any, on the differences between the success rate of kids whose parents actually hired an attorney versus the kids whose parents had to get a court-appointed attorney? Do you see eventual results, not just the probation part of it, but is there a disparity in how well they do beyond do they reoffend, or are there any statistics on that?
I'm not for certain if there are any hardcore concrete statistics, but just from what I've seen, to be honest, I believe that it is not only a makeup of the parents or the family being able to afford a good attorney, but again, I believe that it's the involvement of the parents throughout the whole process, and then the economics, of course, with that. And then I also think, of course, it's the educational. I think all three of those make up the way that a child will succeed, because most of the kids, and, I can honestly say most of the kids come from a low socioeconomic status type environment. However, we all know that you do not have to be a product of your environment, but they don't really understand that, and some of the parents don't really understand that, and it's kind of like, well, in my house, we like grew up on welfare, so that's how we know, and that's like the big thing for them. And so if they don't really know any better, then of course, even if they, and I would even say, even if they did get a good court-appointed lawyer and they were able to get through probation, a lot of the kids come in and they can't believe what type of support, because I try to support my kids. I go to their football games. I go to their whatever it is, extracurricular activities that they do. I really try to go and do it. Yeah, my senior girl, she's a Scarlet dancer in North Shore, so I went to see her dance. So yeah, I really try to go because they don't really have that support, and because they don't have that support, that's where it lacks. Because even if I get them through probation successfully, they still have the rest of their lives to go. And if the parent is not really there, and you don't hear somebody say they believe in you, they believe this, they believe that, it's unfortunate, but that child may not. Go ahead, talk. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I'm done.
One caveat, though, that I think is probably in response to the question over there. I don't know that there is a motivation of the system to track the distinction, number one.
I agree.
And I would say, secondly, what we would see is we'd probably be more beyond juvenile by the time they become adults, where parents are facing charges where they have not just the economic needs, but they might have the intelligent needs to know if I let my son or daughter plead out, this removes their citizenship for life. That's probably is, that if there was a reason for them to track that, they would, but since it's not affecting the community they're worried about, but that's a statistic that I think would be proven out, and attorneys would tell you, if you get an attorney that's representing your son or daughter, when the system would say, confess a crime that you didn't do. I have a young man I'm sitting with right now, I'm taking tomorrow. He didn't do the crime. But the legal process said, just say you did so you didn't do it. He did. A person on my staff did the same thing. And another young man we just hired did the same thing. And every time you do that, that's a for life thing. So that's where I think it's an unquestionable distinction, but it really gets to the parents knowing that to help their kids not confess that, because the system will tell you. We had a young man who, when he was in prison, the other prisoners were telling him, man, this is the way to go. And that sticks with you for life.
When she asked that question, I thought about good research project for some students. That's an excellent research project.
Okay, guys, I am done. Mr. Menefee wants to talk, so go ahead. Thank you so much.
You did a great job. Excellent job. I want to give you a round of applause. Thank you for that information. And I want to talk about something that we all love. Well, maybe not love. Like a lot. Money. Money. This is true, because once our kids make it through secondary school, what's next? You know, I know some may not decide college is for me. Some want to go to college, but you look at the bill and say, how am I going to cover that? Because we've gotten to the spring semester of, in your words, little Johnny. Little Johnny. We've gotten to that point in his high school career, and now we decide, where are you going to go to school? How are we going to pay for it? You're a little late. I'm just going to be perfectly frank with you. You are a tad bit late to begin that process the spring semester of their high school, their senior year. It is, you are behind the 8 ball. Good news and bad news, you're going to miss out on some types of funding. Good news is there's still some types of funding available. How many of you all have any students in high school age? Okay. Just you three? What grade are they in? 10th grade? 11th grade? 9th grade? Good. So they're all still early. Our middle school kids, parents with middle school age children, this information is great for you as well. You want to, at this point, get your children started on taking their PSATs. Your 10th grade, your 9th grader, PSATs, the practice, because a lot of funding as far as scholarship is now being based on students' SAT scores. A lot of high schools are actually no longer ranking. So it's the age of, well, I was in the top 10%, it is slowly fading away. More and more high schools, yes ma'am.
I think PSAT
Mm-hmm. Ma'am, I couldn't hear you. I gotta stay right here in front of the camera. No, you'll receive that information. Right. No, you'll receive that information. Yes, ma'am. But it's good that you took it.
And she can do that as many times as she likes.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Don't break it out there.
PSAT, you can take it as many times as you like. It gets you an idea of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Do I need to just study a little harder, or do I need to possibly go and seek professional assistance with getting my test scores a little bit higher so that I can go into whichever school I would like to attend? Because what I do now is I do all the institutional scholarships. So universities go out and we look for those students with the highest SAT scores. We currently take rank. Last year, we would only award students our top scholarship that had class rank. But we have noticed a trend that schools are no longer ranking. So now students with no class rank, as long as they have a high enough SAT score, can actually compete for our top scholarship. But once again, you want to start early. I advise anyone to start freshman, sophomore year. Because at that point, you have a blank slate when you're in high school. So you need to focus on your academics. But not only academics, a lot of times, you know, we get into the school. You got to focus on your studies. Focus on it. That's very important. But you also want to have your child participate in activities at their school. Because a big component of a lot of these top scholarships now is, what did you do outside of school? You know, do you have leadership characteristics? You know, can you show me that you were involved in any out-of-school activities, you know, any community activities, anything maybe with your church, you know, any of the community centers such as the Forge, things like that, you know, and not to mention athletics. Contrary to the belief, I know a lot of times we feel like, you know, I don't want them to just be an athlete. Well, if athletics is the ticket for your child to get that free education, then I tell you what you do. You get them involved. You get them involved. You take them to the camps. You know, it's a small sacrifice for the greater good, you know. And it's not just basketball, football. Where I went to school, Prairie View, predominantly black college, HBCU, very proud. Yes, I am. But we had a bowling team. Exactly. What? We had a bowling team, and guess what? My bowling team gave scholarships. You wouldn't know it. Guess what we have at Prairie View? We have a golf team. What? They give scholarships. Band, they give scholarships. All of those, the arts, they give scholarships. So make sure that your child is being involved in all of those things, you know, but don't let the academics slide. But you do want to make sure that they get a chance to be involved. And with them being involved, we need you to be involved, you know. So it is very important. It is a thin line between you being involved and you being what I consider to be a helicopter parent. Oh, yeah. I get them all the time. And the reason I say it's a thin line because, one, we're older. We've lived life. We've bumped our heads enough times where you don't need to learn from the same mistakes I've already made. I can tell you if you go down that path where it will lead you to. So you want to be involved to that point, but you also want to give them a chance to learn responsibility and accountability. Because oftentimes I'm contacted by parents in my office and they're like, what's going on with X, Y, and Z? The first thing I have to ask is, well, have you spoken to the child? I had a parent literally about 2 weeks ago. She threatened me with litigation because her son was no longer eligible for his scholarship because he had failed all his classes. And she told me that I failed her, I failed him, her son had been the victim of hazing, and all of these things. And I kept asking, well, all he needs to do is have him contact me. We can get him set up to do an appeal. We can get him set up to take care of the hazing things. But I turned the hazing information over to the law enforcement. Well, because we take that very serious. People can die from that type of stuff. So our law enforcement went to his dorm room and waited for him to get there because no one had ever spoken with him. Come to find out, it was all made up. He had never been a victim of any of those things. He didn't tell her that he failed all his classes either. So, it's that thin line. You want to be involved, but you also have to have that open line of communication with your child. You want to have your child be able to feel comfortable to say, Mom, Dad, X, Y, and Z is bothering me, to go back to what you were stating about bullying, things like that. You want them to be able to communicate with you. You want to, every day that they come home from school, you have to ask them. Because they may not always say it, because most of the time, when I pick my son up, and if you don't say anything, they won't say anything. So you have to initiate that communication. You have to open up that line of communication. Tell them, let me see your phone real quick. And I put it right on the dashboard, face down. I paid a bill, don't touch it. How was your day? What did you learn? Nothing is never a suitable answer for me. Because then I'm a little disappointed that I sent you there for 8 hours. And you mean to tell me you came home with nothing? I mean, if nothing else, you need to tell me you learned that they painted the wall outside. I need you to come home with something, some type of new information that you didn't know yesterday. And that's perfectly fine. But getting involved like that and talking to them, then you understand what they're looking to do after they get out of high school. You want to start that now. If you talk to your child and ask them, well, what's your favorite college? Then you know what you need to do? If finances will allow, go and buy him a poster or buy her a poster. Or what's free, you can contact that school and ask for recruiting information. They will send you booklets and all type of information about that institution. And then you can cut out pictures from it and post it on their wall. Not only talking to them and seeing, visualize it and let them see it on their wall, because you can be there. If that's their favorite school, if that's where they want to go, then encourage that. Always encourage that if you have the opportunity to. And if you don't have, like I said, if you don't have the finances, there are ways around that. You can simply get on the internet, pull up a picture, hit print. That's it. Things like that. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question with regard to, I think you're talking about the schools. I was a little curious when you were talking earlier about financial aid with regard to going to a community college first. Are those still required?
No, ma'am. You don't have to go to a community college. But
you have to go. Saying if you go, do you still have
SATs?
Requirements of SAT, community service, etc.?
No, ma'am. No, if you have to go to community college, the SAT is not required. And for students, I suggest that sometimes. For a student who's not kind of sure where they want to go or what they want to major in, then what I tell them, if you're not really certain at this time, then go to HCC or Lone Star, because the tuition is much cheaper. $6,000, $5,000 a semester is a hefty price to try to find your way, when it could simply be about $1,000 to $1,200 if you're going full time at HCC or Lone Star. And thank you for bringing that up, because that was my next point. Some of our students, they may not want to go into a 4-year university. It goes back to our communication and understanding your child. That may not be what they want to do. They may want to work. Okay. Well, in that case, what I suggest you do is get a certification. Some type of paperwork to say, I'm certified in this. Because with that, I know people with simple certifications that make $80,000 to $100,000 a year from certifications. So not going to a 4-year college is not always the end of the line. So talk to them once again. They can be a certified welder. Certified welders make about $20 an hour starting out. You can be an x-ray technician. A lot of those things are available at HCC. So if they're looking more into being certified, I'm interested in working. Mom, Dad, I really don't see myself doing a 4-year college. If that's what they tell you, and then okay, I suggest, or I wish you would do X, Y, Z, but I want to work with you to be successful in life. I want to work with you to be able to provide for yourself and for your family. So let's work towards this thing. That's just that open line of communication. You'll be surprised how many students I get in my office who they say, well, I tried to tell them, but it was just never a good time. They wouldn't understand that this wasn't for me. I wasn't ready for this. So being able to communicate that and going to HCC or Lone Star and getting that certification, that's fine. But what I would advise you to do is if they're looking into those type of certifications, do not go to Art Institute, UTI, and things like, because what those type of institutions are, they are for profit. That plain and simple, they are for profit. I am here to make money off of you, and that same certification that you could have got at HCC or at Lone Star is going to cost you $30,000 to $40,000. Some of them even more. I talked to a guy that went to ITT Tech, racked up almost $90,000 in student loans. He said he wanted to go and pursue his degree. He wanted a 4-year degree. He was maxed out on financial aid, and we didn't accept any of those credits. We didn't accept any of those credits. Yes, ma'am.
College equivalency type classes or college equivalency type classes?
Like the dual credit courses? Yes, ma'am.
That you take in high school or whatever. Did you talk about those kinds of things as well? Because that's the way to save money.
That definitely true. Definitely true. Dual credit is a way to save money. And as long as those courses are coming from, and they typically are, I haven't come across any high schools that are doing dual credits with any non-recognized community colleges. But we do accept those. So there are students that come into our university who are 18, but they're actually already juniors because they have 60 hours of transfer credits. Now, with that, you want to make sure you're working with their high school counselor that they're not just taking frivolous courses that won't transfer over. But yes, dual credits is a great way to save money, and you're coming in with college credits, which lessens the amount of years that you actually have to pay that tuition and fee. So that is a good tool that you can use. Now, anybody know basically how to search for scholarship funding or how to even get that ball started? No? It sounds so simple, but she was right. I am not joking. Google you can start there. You can start just at Google. Search scholarships. And you'll be surprised how many links will show up. Now, with that, you have to be aware, if anybody asks you for your Social Security number, no, I'll pass on that scholarship. They should not ask you for your Social Security number, and they should not be asking you for your financial information. Okay? They should not ask that. If they ask you for bank account numbers, Social Security numbers, and how much money you made, I'll pass. There are millions of other scholarships. Even if that is a legitimate scholarship, I'll pass. Because that's not something you want to share online. And so, but doing that, Googling it, once again, understanding what school your child is kind of interested in, what their favorite college is at this current time, going to their website. Every university has a scholarship webpage, and on that scholarship webpage, and not only do they have scholarship information for their school, we also list different corporations and private donors, as well as scholarship search engines. So the internet is wide open. It's a wealth of information. You want to make sure that you take full advantage of that. I think my time has come. My wife ate up most of my time, but I love you. I really do. Yes, ma'am. I will answer any question you have. Even I'll be here afterwards as well. So.
And we can bring it back.
And I can come back.
Everybody might benefit from this one.
Yes, ma'am.
Years ago, you mentioned scholarships.
Mhm.
You kept talking about scholarships, but years ago it used to be grants. That was just money that
Mhm.
you didn't have to pay back. Do those still exist?
Okay, that's a great question. They exist. They're a lot harder to get. They're a lot harder to get, and the funding, unfortunately, here in our state, has been drastically cut year after year after year after year. Once again, I hope you voted last week, and when the next election comes, vote again. I make sure I vote because I'm voting also for my livelihood, because one of those cuts may end up cutting me. So you want to make sure. But right now, we do have some available. But you want to tap into those private funds as much as you can, because like I said, the federal funds and the state funds are being drastically reduced. The only 2 grants have grown since I've been in higher education. That's the Pell Grant, but it's much harder to get, and now it's restricted on how often you can get it, and the Texas Grant. And once again, it's also restricted down to, being on a priority list, and the funding has been severely cut for that. I'll be here. Yes, ma'am.
Should one be discouraged about going to college if they do not qualify for any scholarships or any grants? Should they be leery about taking out loans?
Okay, great question. And I'll put it this way. A lot of us have cars, and we probably had to finance our cars, $15,000, $20,000, and Ford, GM, Chevy, they expect you to pay that back in 3 years, 4 years. And we do that because it's a necessity for us to be able to get around. Well, and when it comes to student loans, a lot of times I've seen students that drop out, or parents, refuse to let them come because that's all they qualify for. I'm just going to say this. If we will invest $15,000 to $20,000 in a vehicle that right now, if we pull out on Old Spanish Trail and someone sideswipes us, that car can be instantly gone. But that education is till death do you part. So if needed, if that is truly the last resort, then it's an investment in that student. It's an investment in that person. And sometimes we have to be willing to invest in ourselves. We have to be willing to take that chance and invest in you. It's because that's going to be how you be able to provide a better future for yourself, for your family. I won't take any more questions because I know I'm out of time. We're going to be here, and I definitely want to come back because there was some information that I didn't get a real chance to touch on, but I will be here. I'll stand back there in that back corner once they let out, if you all allow it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll answer any questions that you all have. My wife will answer any questions that you all have, and that'll be great. Thank you all for your time.